We've been talking all morning about writing the future as if we're the only ones with pens in our hand. But we're not the only authors for this future. We're going to have a co-author, or a ghostwriter. And there's going to be artificial intelligence. Until about 24, 28 months ago, the thing that made us different from every other organism on the planet was our intelligence. But now, human-level intelligence is no longer an exclusively human trait. What happens to the world when the things that we relied on human intelligence to generate can now be generated by a machine? That's going to change the world. It has to. But how? It's quite possible that artificial intelligence is the most transformative technology since fire. But a lot of people are afraid of artificial intelligence because they don't understand it. And you shouldn't be afraid of things just because you don't understand them. So today, I'm going to give you just a little bit of a basic understanding of what this could mean to our future so that you have a good, solid reason to be afraid of it. The reason that AI is such a game changer is because it upends our notion of the human-computer dynamic. Up until 24, 28 months ago, we had to solve a problem first so that we could tell the computer how to do it. So humans always had to work it out, and then they could tell the computer how to do it, and the computer could do it faster, more efficiently, at a higher volume, but we always had to figure it out. Now, we're at the point where we can go to an artificial intelligence and say, here's a problem, see what you can do with it. That's going to touch every facet of our lives. And is it going to be good or bad? There's a non-zero chance this kills us all. And I know that laughter is uncomfortable laughter, because you know I'm serious. That's the name of this presentation. There's a non-zero chance. There's also a non-zero chance that it turns Earth into a utopia, that it cures every disease, that it solves food insecurity, it solves climate change, none of us ever have to work again. There's a non-zero chance for that too. But those are two extremes of a probability bell curve. What's much more likely is something in between those two, right? So let's break down what the possible futures could be. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And I know going in that order kind of leaves it on a negative note, but Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood didn't make the ugly, the bad, and the good. So my hands are kind of tied. So let's start with the good. We're already seeing some of the good that AI can do. You saw ChatGPT over at 26 West Center. ChatGPT can help you write marketing materials, essays, books, right? There are music generators, there are video generators, there are image generators. In fact, if you haven't figured it out already, every image in this deck except one is generated by an AI. So it can help us achieve some great things, and it can be a huge productivity gain. I have a friend who writes code for a living. Now, about 80% of the code he would have written himself is now written by ChatGPT, and he just spends his time finishing it and debugging it. It's a great boon for him, because it makes him twice as productive, right? Now, I think the two areas that you'll see the biggest impact in over the next few years are going to be healthcare and education. Generative AI is just the tip of the iceberg. AIs will be able to do some incredible things for us. Using the raw data from a CAT scan or an MRI, an AI can detect things a human radiologist literally can't see. That'll mean earlier interventions, earlier diagnoses, more effective treatments. AI will be able to create medicines. Let's say you and you both have the same disease, and we have one super effective medication. You take it and you're doing just fine. You take it, you have horrible side effects. That's the variability that comes with human bodies. But the AI can tweak the molecule in the medicine so that it still does what it was intended to do, but relieves your side effects. Might cause him side effects now, but we'll have individually tailored medicines, individually tailored treatment plans. The AI can look at your whole constellation of symptoms, all of your lab results, all of your tests, and it can spot patterns that a human doctor might not be able to. So huge potential in healthcare. A similar huge potential in education. Think of the possibilities of an AI teaching assistant. Teachers are already overworked. We already have labor shortages. An AI teaching assistant, there can be one individualized learning plan for each student based on the way they most efficiently learn. And they can have their AI teaching assistant with them 24/7. They can ask it a question whenever they think of it. They can ask it a question in private where there's no pressure from the rest of the class for not asking a question because you didn't want to seem stupid to the rest of the class. Right? Individual help, encouragement, individualized learning assessments. So we can stop with the FCAT and the SAT, and that means we can stop teaching to the test. Right? Also, AIs can simulate students to make teachers better. So I think huge upside in healthcare, huge upside in education. We're already seeing a bit of an upside in productivity across a wide range of positions. But not all of the effects are going to be positive. So you remember my coder friend I told you about? He got twice as productive. He's a freelancer. That's great for him because that means he can make twice as much money now. He can throughput twice as much work. But scale that up for a second and picture yourself running a multinational corporation that has a huge department of coders. If they all get twice as productive, is there really twice as much business for you to go chase, or are you going to start laying people off? Goldman Sachs predicts that in the next 10 years, AI will replace 300 million jobs worldwide. That's 10% of all the jobs. And that's on top of a global unemployment rate that's running about 5.8% right now. So what do we do when 16% of everybody is out of a job? And it's not going to be like when automobiles disrupted horse-related industries, right? The carriage makers started making cars. Buggy drivers started driving automobiles. It didn't eliminate the jobs, it just moved them. Except in our scenario today, we're not the coach makers and buggy drivers. We're the horses. How many jobs for horses were there in 1800? How many jobs are there for horses today? This could be a tectonic shift in the economy. If AI makes self-driving cars possible and self-flying planes possible, and there are companies right now that are running self-driving trucking routes. They have a safety driver behind the wheel in case something happens, but they don't have to do anything. There's a company that has self-flying planes. There's a safety pilot in the cockpit. They don't ever have to grab the controls. Now, maybe human beings are never going to get into an airplane that doesn't have a human in the front, but cargo doesn't care, and cargo is 80% of flying. In America, 30% of our jobs are in the transportation sector. What happens the second a trucking company's insurance premiums go down when they buy the self-driving trucks? which never need breaks, which never get distracted, which don't have to be perfect. They don't have to never get into accidents. They just have to get into fewer accidents than people do. And that's kind of a low bar. So what happens to our economy when those jobs just go away? It's not that people will be unemployed. They'll be unemployable. The jobs don't go someplace else. They just disappear because they're being done now by an AI. So that could be bad. Then there's the existential threat that AI can produce. 50% of AI scientists that were surveyed, out of 2,000 AI scientists surveyed, 50% of them think that there's a better than 10% chance that AI is the cause of human extinction. That's some smart people who are telling us, hey, there's a good chance that if we don't watch what we're doing, we could be in trouble. And is it going to be because AI becomes evil and tries to kill humans? Is it going to be like Terminator or iRobot? No, doubtful. Is possible, doubtful. What's much more likely is the unintended consequence. Human history is littered with unintended consequences. What does that mean at this scale? We have a very practical demonstration of that. Enter the only not AI-generated image. This is Collaboration Pharmaceuticals on the campus of NC State in North Carolina. The CEO of Collaboration Pharmaceuticals is leading a team that's using AI to design medicine, like we were talking about earlier. It can work through all the different permutations of a molecule. You can give it a molecule and say, this medicine works, but not as good as we like it to, or it causes this side effect. Run through some possibilities for a version that doesn't have that side effect, or that works a little bit better. So he's leading a team doing that. Great work. They're doing really good work at Collaboration. The CEO gets invited by a council in Europe to do a talk for them on the potential misuse of AI. So he says, sure, I'll be happy to. He gets off the phone, he calls his group together, and he says, just so I have something to talk about, what would happen if we changed toxicity from a 0 to a 1? Instead of driving away from toxicity, we drive towards it. What would that do? Nobody at the table's really sure. Yeah, we can try it. So they set it up, they go home, they come in the morning, and in 6 hours, the AI had thought of 40,000 ideas for chemical weapons, some of which would have been more lethal than VX nerve gas. And it did it on a 7-year-old iMac. It wasn't a supercomputer. Anybody that had the model and the know-how could have done it in their garage. Well, they looked at the results and they thought, okay, well, first, turn it off. So they turned it off, and they said, second, we got to publish. We got to let people know what we just found. And so they did. As you can imagine, the paper made quite a stir. And they were invited in very prompt fashion to an interview with the White House and the Pentagon, because the White House and the Pentagon had no idea this was possible. This wasn't even on their radar. You see, the problem with AI is it gives you exactly what you asked for, not what you wanted. So we have to get a lot better at asking. We have to go into the future with artificial intelligence with our eyes wide open. There are some wonderful things it can do. It will make tons of lives easier. It will make people live longer. It could solve climate change. There are so many good positives that can come out of this. But we have to recognize that nothing's all good. There's a downside. There are rewards, there are also risks. And we have to weigh the rewards and the risks. We have to go in with our eyes wide open. We need to not ignore this and hope it'll go away. We need to have tough conversations as a society. We need to talk about what it means to make a living. Maybe we need to have a conversation about basic income. Because when we have 20% of people unemployed, we got a preview of that during the COVID outbreak, right? We kind of know what that looks like, but what happens if the jobs don't come back? So we need to go into this with our eyes wide open. We need to have those tough conversations. You need to make sure your legislators know that this is coming. I just saw an article before I came in here. I saw a headline that the UK was warning the UN that regulation is not keeping up with technology. Newsflash, right? So I encourage you to learn more about it, try to use it. Get comfortable with it so that you can have intelligent conversations about it. Because whether AI is the future or the end is up to us. We get to decide how that goes down, but we need to do it smartly and we need to start today. Thank you.